What's going on, guys? This is a response to an inbox I got from a guy, and I will not mention his name because I know a lot of guys do this kind of thing just to get attention. Not that it's going to get much coverage from my channel anyway, because I've got like 30 subscribers, but you know, I've only been here for a couple of weeks, so I'm just saying. His message, so sad, so very, very sad, for several reasons. You'll understand this when I read out the message. I think he had a problem with the video I made on PEDs and boxing, the one I made on Lamont Peterson and Andre Berto, which is fine. You know, I knew I was going to get some backlash from that, and I knew it was going to come from. I knew who it was going to come from anyway. But I do want to address one point in particular, which he brought up in his message, because this is something that I've been reading in loads of comments. Following videos for a while now, and this is the comment I hear that's brought up by mainly Manny Pacquiao fans whenever they're trying to sort of defend his decision not to take the drug test. You'll understand automatically what I'm talking about when I read this out to you. You're gonna love this. Okay, so let's read this. He says, "What proof do you have that Pac-Man is on steroids?" None. You are obviously just a fan of Floyd, and you clearly have a lot of bias towards Manny Pacquiao. Even though you profess to have an objective viewpoint because of where you're from, you're not. You're not. You don't, you should say. Just correcting your grammatical error there. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a lawyer? Then you should know that there is something called innocent until proven guilty. Some lawyer you are. Okay. Let's go by that. That's not the whole message, just a part of it. Let's go by that bit, point by point. Yes, I am a fan of Floyd. But unlike most people, that doesn't automatically mean I hate Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was one of the first fighters I started following. Actually, I started watching Pacquiao before I started watching Floyd. One of the first fights I can remember watching live, I'm pretty sure it is the first fight I watched live. Bear in mind the country where I'm from, I don't get HBO pay-per-view over here. But one of the first fights I watched was Manny Pacquiao versus Eric Morales on Sky Box Office. For example. Now, yes, I am a fresh legal graduate. I'm not a practicing lawyer as yet, even though I could be, because I'm still doing research into public international law, mainly humanitarian law, human and civil rights. I'm particularly interested in war crime. You must have seen my video, because on the international governing body for boxing, and you sure saw my allusions to my profession. Otherwise you wouldn't know that I am a lawyer. Thank you for watching that video, by the way. Not a lot of people have watched it, because it seems like unless a video is about Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather these days in the boxing world, nobody's interested in it anyway. So that just goes to show you what kind of boxing fans we're dealing with here. And now you have to be very careful, because you bring up the principle of presumption of innocence. For those of you who are not familiar with law, the presumption of innocence, innocent until proven guilty. You should be very careful now. Very careful, because you're getting legal. Okay? And the law is a very delicate thing. And you don't know the law, obviously. Okay? So, I'm going to give you guys a small law lesson now, free of charge, to use against anyone who comes giving you this line of innocent until proven guilty, and the long line of defensive maneuvers people use to perpetuate Manny Pacquiao's continued reluctance to take this fucking blood test. Now, the presumption of innocence is a term used only in criminal law. There are loads of different kinds of laws. Criminal law is the most famous one, because, you know, that's the one you see in the movies. Whenever people think law, they automatically think prison, police, and all this. But actually, it's like maybe 0.01% of the law is criminal law. So vast. But the presumption of innocence, that's something that is purely in criminal law. Now, it's an extremely, extremely important principle. probably the foundation principle of all criminal law. You're right. However, it becomes a bit problematic when it meets the second key principle of criminal prosecution, which is the standard of proof in criminal proceedings, and that is beyond reasonable doubt. In other words, to find someone guilty of a criminal offense because he is presumed to be innocent, you have to prove with a high level of certainty that he is guilty of the offense. So what this means essentially is that in court you pile up all the evidence that points toward the guilt of the accused. If the judge or jury is convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the dude is guilty, he goes to prison. Now, there is also something called inferences from silence. I don't expect you've heard of this because you've never studied the law before, obviously. If you have, then, good for you, okay? I'm not saying, I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm some sort of genius. I don't think I am, but now I'm almost certain this principle, inferences from silence, exists in U.S. criminal law. Obviously, I study Maltese criminal law, but it must exist in U.S. criminal law. Because it's basically the criminal jurisdictional staple of the world. U.S. criminal law has a very, very, very profound effect on a lot of other judicial systems. Basically, what this principle means is this. You all know about the so-called right to remain silent. That blurb that the police give you when they're handcuffing you and pinning you down to the to the police car. You have the right to remain silent. Well, that is a right that doesn't stop once the police handcuff you and take you to the station. It's a right you have from the moment you are arrested to the moment the judge passes sentence. In other words, you are entitled to refuse to say or to do anything from the moment you are handcuffed to the moment the judge either acquits you or sends you to prison. You can refuse to answer the police during a police interrogation, and, funnily enough, you can also refuse to give blood samples or any other kind of intimate sample if they have asked you for it. That might help the criminal investigation against you. You can refuse. If they say, for example, you know what, we need your blood, this will help us establish whether you are guilty or not. You can tell them, no, I don't want to give you my blood. You can do that. You have the right to remain silent. That includes giving your blood. That is interpreted as silence by action. If you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to explain it to you in layman terms. You can refuse. However, if you do refuse to answer the police when they ask you something at a police interrogation, and if you do refuse to give up samples of your blood or your semen for the purposes of a police investigation, the jury is entitled to infer from your silence and your refusal to cooperate with the investigation evidence corroborating guilt. Inferences from silence. This is a basic principle of criminal law. In other words, from a legal perspective at least, Manny Pacquiao's refusal to oblige to a drug test could be considered as evidence of guilt at a criminal trial, if it was in a criminal trial. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's the truth. So from a legal perspective, the whole innocent until proven guilty thing doesn't hold up in reality. I don't know if taking steroids I know selling steroids is a criminal offense in the US. I don't know if taking them is. It isn't over here in Malta. But anyway, if it were, and if you were taken up to court for it or whatever, that his refusal to, if the police asked him to take a drug test and he refused, that would be inferences from silence. Could be inferred as guilt. It is considered evidence in trial that tends towards guilt. So that's a piece of legal advice from me. You can have it for free of charge. A lot of lawyers would charge you a lot of money for that in the United States, I understand. However, it's the principle under most criminal law jurisdictions. It might not be the case in the US, but I'm pretty sure it is. So that's on that point. I haven't finished his email. The rest is quite funny. I'm just gonna read it because it's funny, you know. So, you know, listen to this. Does that even exist in the third world country you come from? He's talking about the principle of the presumption of innocence. You live right next door to Libya. Says a lot about you and your background. Okay, now he's getting racial, and you know, I saw this coming a mile away. Yeah, my country does. You know, my country is close to Libya. I make no reservations about that. Everybody knows what went on in Libya recently. I have a very intimate knowledge about it because I actually saw the planes flying over there, you know, to bomb the shit out of the place a few months ago. But the great North African revolution didn't quite hit my neck of the woods, man. I don't come from a third world country. My country is in the European Union, actually. So it's very tough to break into the EU if you're a third world country. I don't expect you to know that because you probably have no idea what goes on in the world beyond your borders. I expect, you know, to say something like Libya is a third world country. Libyans are actually quite fucking intelligent people, man. Might surprise you to know. I mean, I know a few Libyans over here. They came here as refugees. I mean, they were here before the revolution, but they came here as refugees recently. Quite a lot of them, obviously, and most of them speak 4 languages at least, including English, Arabic, Italian. And they also learn Maltese quite easily because my native language is very, very similar to Arabic. If you heard me speaking in my native language, you'd think I'm a fucking terrorist. Like, you know, you probably can't speak more than one. Yeah, just saying. Like, so that was a very ignorant thing for you to say, but no, I don't. I'm grown used to this shit now. So he goes on. I bet you still hang people in your country. Oh man, this one was funny. Especially funny because the guy's channel says he's from the US. You know, it says he's from the United States, and if I'm not mistaken, about 12 or 13 US states have the death penalty. So, like, what, zapping people in an electric chair is okay, but death by hanging, that's barbaric. No, dude, actually my country doesn't have the death penalty. Used to have it. The last guy that was given the death sentence in Malta was in 1942, exactly 70 years ago. So that was the last time a last guy was executed in Malta. It was abolished. The death penalty is outlawed by EU law, by the way, so we're not going to be having it anytime soon. And I think the US is the only first world Western civilization that still has the death penalty, actually. I might be wrong, but I'm just saying. That's what I heard. He goes on. Do yourself a favor and stop making boxing videos. Oh, and by the way, this was the best one. It's obvious that you are black. You don't sound like a white man. Oh man. Oh yeah, man, come on. It's amazing. That was amazing. That was a good one. No man, I'm not black. No. If you see my photo on my channel, that's me. So as you can clearly see in that photo, I am not black. Maybe it's my voice, I don't know. I have a deep voice, I guess, so no, that was that was just funny.